Mara knew a room by what it tried to hide. A room belonged first to whoever knew where the oil was kept, which jar sounded full but was not, which child would cry if the voices rose, and which silence meant prayer instead of fear. That evening the room was hiding fear badly. The lamp near the inner wall had begun to thin. Its flame bent low, recovered, bent again, and painted every face in the color of almost. The men near the door spoke in low voices about roads and crowds and who had been seen near the river. One kept saying it was nothing, which meant he wanted it to become nothing by repetition. Mara did not interrupt. She moved the bread instead. 2 pieces from the center to the edge, 1 small piece under the cloth for the child who would wake hungry after pretending not to be. Half a fig from the dish near the visiting teacher to the old woman whose hands shook when she reached too far. Water closer to the door for the men who would leave quickly if leaving became necessary. If danger came, thirst made fools of people. Mara had learned that before she had language for it. "You are counting again," her aunt said. Mara did not look up. "Someone should. Someone is. Men count threats." "I count what threats eat." Her aunt made the small sound that meant a laugh had been judged unwise but had tried to live anyway. The house had taken in too many people. Reasons did not make more floor. The room breathed like a crowded animal. Mara trimmed the lamp. The flame straightened, and for one moment every face became clearer than it wanted to be. She saw Issac by the door with his hand too near the latch. He always stood like a man prepared to be useful and gone in the same motion. She saw old Dinah watching the bread instead of the men, which meant Dinah understood the real question. She saw the boy with the message glance toward the window every time sandals scraped outside. She saw the empty place near the wall. No one had named it. Hannah was not there. Mara felt the room tilt around the absence. Hannah was never late when there was work to do. "Where is Hannah?" Mara asked. The men stopped talking, answer enough. Her aunt's mouth tightened. "She went for oil." "When?" "Before the last 2 came." Mara looked at the lamp. The flame had begun to bend again. Issac said, "She knows the way." Mara turned to him. "The way is not the question." He disliked that. Men who stood near doors often believed the door made them guardians of all movement through it. "The street is full," he said. "Full of what?" "People. People are not weather. Some are worse, true enough to be useless." Mara reached for her shawl. Her aunt caught her wrist. Not hard. Hard would have made defiance easy. This was worse. This was fear asking not to be made public. "You cannot go after every missing person," her aunt said. Mara looked at the hand around her wrist. Old scar near the thumb. Flower in the nail bed. A woman's whole life written in places no scribe would think to read. "No," Mara said. "Only the one missing from this room." The boy with the message stood suddenly. "I will go." Mara looked him over, too young to sound that brave, too eager to turn fear into motion. He would run too quickly, ask the wrong person, and return with either nothing or someone else's danger following him. "You will sit," she said. His face reddened. "I am not a child." "Then stop volunteering like one." Dinah coughed into her cloth to hide a laugh. Issac muttered, "This is why men do not tell women everything." Mara smiled at him then, not kindly. "Men do not tell women everything because women would ask what you plan to do after being impressive." The room shifted. Even fear likes a crack to breathe through. Then the knock came, not the family knock, not the neighbor knock, not the quick tap of someone embarrassed to need something. This was 3 measured strikes with space between them, the kind of knock that believed the door already understood authority. Issac's hand closed around the latch but did not lift it. Mara moved before anyone could decide badly. She took the water cup from near the door, set it in the boy's hands, and pushed him toward the back curtain with her shoulder. She slid the hidden bread under the old woman's shawl. She lifted the lamp and carried it closer to the center of the room, away from the door. "Why?" her aunt whispered. "So they look at the light," Mara said. Then she opened the door herself. 3 men stood outside, not soldiers, worse in some ways. Soldiers were dangerous, but they usually knew what uniform they wore. These men had the look of people borrowing authority from a name not present. The front one held a small oil jar in one hand. Hannah stood behind them. "Alive." Afraid, angry enough to stay standing, the man with the jar looked at Mara, then passed her into the room. "This belong here?" Mara let her eyes fall to the jar as if oil were the only subject in the street. "It belongs to whoever paid for it. She says this house. Then she is honest." The man's mouth moved. He had expected apology, explanation, perhaps gratitude. Honesty gave him less to grip. "Many people coming and going from this house," he said. It is a house. At this hour, people become hungry at poor times. One of the men behind him snorted. Hannah's eyes flicked once toward the inner room. Mara did not follow the glance. Following would draw a line. Instead, she shifted the lamp slightly so the flame sat between her face and the man's. Let him look at light. Let him forget shadow. "Who is inside?" he asked. "The hungry," Mara said. "The tired, my aunt, an old woman who coughs more loudly than she sins." A boy trying to become a man too quickly. "If you want a full accounting, bring more oil. The lamp is failing before my patience." The second man laughed before remembering he had not been given permission. The front man's face hardened. Then a voice from behind them said, "If she begins charging for patience, none of us will afford the night." Mara knew the voice before she saw him. Not well. No one knew him well enough, she thought. That was part of the disturbance of him. But she had heard him speak once near the well, where a question meant to trap him had somehow left the questioner holding the trap by the sharp end. The men turned. Jesus stood in the street with another man beside him, both dusty enough to have come by foot and calm enough to make the street feel suddenly overdressed. The front man said his name without greeting. Jesus looked at the oil jar. "You found what was lost," he said. This woman was seen carrying it. Then it was not lost very long. Again that small almost smile, not mockery, something sharper and kinder than mockery, the kind of humor that offered a man a path away from making himself worse in public. The front man did not take it. "There is talk about this house." "There is talk about most houses," Jesus said. "Some of it is even true." Mara did not laugh. She wanted to, which was inconvenient. The man looked from Jesus to Mara, then to the room behind her where the lamp burned in the center and made ordinary poverty look almost ceremonial. "Watch who you feed," he said. Jesus' face changed so slightly that Mara almost missed it. Almost. "I try," he said. The words were soft. The room heard them anyway. The man set the oil jar at Mara's feet harder than necessary. Oil jumped inside the clay. Then he turned and took the others with him, including the one who had laughed. Hannah waited until their backs were far enough away to stop pretending her knees were loyal. Mara caught her before she fell. The street exhaled. Jesus bent, picked up the oil jar, and held it out. "This belongs here, I think." Mara took it. Their hands did not touch. That relieved her and disappointed her, and she disliked both facts. "You should not stand in streets making men dislike you," she said. "I was under the impression they had begun before I arrived. You make jokes at bad times, so I have been told at good times." Hannah made a broken sound that might have been a laugh or the end of fear. Mara held her tighter. Jesus looked past Mara into the room, not searching, not counting, but seeing enough. The boy behind the curtain had gone silent. Dinah's cough had stopped. Asaph by the door looked like a man deciding whether gratitude damaged him. Then Jesus looked back at Mara. "You kept the lamp well." It was not a large sentence. It struck her harder than a blessing. Men praised women for beauty when they wanted softness, for obedience when they wanted silence, for cleverness when they wanted surprise without consequence. No one praised the keeping of a lamp unless they understood what a lamp cost in a room afraid of darkness. Mara did not know what to do with being seen so precisely. She lifted the oil jar. "Then help me keep it burning." He smiled fully now. "That is usually the work."